What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 7. And today we're going to talk more about the hot stove as things continue to heat up. We've seen a lot of pitchers sign in a lot of places, and some have been pretty damn surprising. With me this week, first, down below, the only Yankee fan that will ever appear on this show, Mike Haber. Mike, how you doing tonight, Mike?
Doing great, Joe. Thanks again for having me. Thrilled to talk about the hot stove in November. Love it. And it's only going to heat up more from here. So psyched.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what your Yankees are not going to do this year to improve and bring back, say, Brett Gardner on another one-year contract.
No, thank you.
With us as well, he is, here we go, the reigning, defending, undisputed World Heavyweight Bigs champion of 2021, a 3-time champion, and our esteemed commissioner, Ben Nisman. Benny, how are you doing this evening?
Doing good, Joe. Thanks for always bridging the gap from here till first pitch, but we still have 4.5 months to go. So fortunately, we do have some hot stove going on, and we got the winter meetings slowly coming, but January is usually torture. It's usually the worst month of them all. At least in February, we start to get pitchers and catchers reporting, and then March, we get some spring training games. So you start to feel it. You want it so badly, but we still got a long ways to go, man. So thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's dive right into this thing. Benji, this is pretty important to you and to me as New York Mets fans. They have hired themselves a general manager, or at least they will allegedly tomorrow. It's going to be Billy Epler on a 4-year deal. Billy Epler comes to us by way of the Los Angeles Angels most recently. Was not a member of the team, of any team, in 2021, took the year off, but now comes back here to GM New York Mets. Ben, I want to give the floor to you here as a Mets fan before I have my rant on this, because I am not a happy camper. How do you feel about the Billy Epler hiring?
I'm pretty even keeled right now, Joe. I'm not super excited. I'm not incredibly nervous either. I'm willing to give this guy a chance. Hasn't made one move yet for the Mets. So I'd like to see someone else in there doing something, because in the past it's been Sandy Alderson, Brody Van Wagenen, had a deal through the Steve Phillips era, Omar Minaya. I mean, it was just so many guys that have came and failed in the job. So my expectations are low, and maybe that's the way to go, because when your expectations are high as a Mets fan, you're generally disappointed. So I'd like to start there. I'm not entirely stoked, but I'm not furious either.
Mike Haber, you guys, you as a Yankee fan were playing against the Angels for a long, long time. And this guy started out in your front office. Is there anything as a Yankee fan that you feel about Billy Epler as an executive?
I think I kind of feel the way Ben does. It's a little for me right now. I mean, did he make big splashes for the Yankees when he was there? Not really. He brought in Bartolo Colon, so like, I'll take that, buddy. But like, in all seriousness, I think he's got to prove himself. I mean, you said it earlier. He's moving up, so good for him in his personal life. He's moving up. He's getting an opportunity to, like, bring something new to New York. But I think the bar is set low right now. So I think he can come in here with a clean slate. He took the year off, and maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised, Joe.
I would be pleasantly surprised if this guy could get a 500 baseball team on the field. Okay? The first time we heard this guy's name, he became the assistant general manager of the New York Yankees in the offseason of 2011 going into the 2012 season. In that 2012 season, the New York Yankees finished 95-67. They won the AL East, and they were swept in the ALCS by the Detroit Tigers. Okay, you did all right in your first season. 2013, the Yankees didn't make the playoffs. In fact, it was the first time they hadn't made the playoffs in a really long time.
Well, 2008 was the last time they had in prior.
Okay. So 5 years consecutively in the playoffs and coming off of a season where you're in the ALCS. They finish out of the playoffs in third place of the AL East. And you look at that squad and you go, okay, he doesn't make all of the decisions, but a team that has 36-year-old Lyle Overbay playing 142 meaningful baseball games, hitting 240 with 14 homers, doesn't seem like a good team to me. We're playing Jason Nix 87 at third base. We're playing Travis Hafner half the time at DH. That's not exactly a conducive team for winning. Take that for what it is. 2014, they finish 84 and 78. They finish second in the AL East. They also do not miss the playoffs for back-to-back seasons that Billy Epler is the assistant GM of the Yankees. Again, you look at that roster, 36-year-old Brian Roberts playing 91 games at second base. Yangervis Solarte playing 75 games at third base. 40-year-old Ichiro Suzuki playing 143 meaningful games in right field, and 37-year-old Carlos Beltran's the DH. Alfonso Soriano at 38 is on this roster, and he traded for him. Hiroki Kuroda is the ace. That's this team. That's that team. Mike, how do you feel about those teams that I just told you about?
I mean, it seems like there's a pattern of let's sign players who are past their prime, who are big names, and you kind of hope that trend ends when he gets to Queens. But here's the thing: it's like you can't put that squarely on his shoulders, can you?
Right. I agree. And my only last thought was he was part of the negotiations that brought in Jacoby Ellsbury. That's what you got as a New York Yankee, even as an executive. Forget the fact that he was the assistant general manager. Like, he was on the team.
Yeah.
He was handed the keys to the kingdom for the 2015 LA Angels, who were coming off of the 2014 season, winning 98 games, winning the West, and getting swept in the divisional round by the Kansas City Royals. They were a playoff team. They almost won 100 games. This is a good squad. You have the best player in baseball in Mike Trout. You better do good with this. 2015, finished third in the division, 85 and 77. He took over halfway through the year when Jerry Dipoto was removed because Mike Scioscia didn't like the computer.
Yeah.
So he won. They fired Dipoto, who has gone on to Seattle. That's right. And this is what we were left with. Now, that team had Johnny Giavotella playing 129 games at second base. Matt Joyce played 93 games in left field. CJ Cron played 113 games in 2015 for the LA Angels.
Okay.
Decent name, right? You heard Mark Trumbo come through there. You heard CJ Cron come through there. Bet you forgot that G-Man Choi went through there too. But these are all guys who have left and succeeded, while the Angels in 2016 finished under 500, 74 and 88, fourth in the West. Rafael Ortega played 66 games in left field. Cole Calhoun, for whatever Cole Calhoun is, was like the right field guy. Johnny Giavotella was back again. Andrelton Simmons was having an okay year. But the pitching staff is what you always looked at with the Angels.
Yeah.
Garrett Richards was about the best thing that's ever come out of there. Jared Weaver was old. Matt Shoemaker, Ricky Nolasco, Nick Tropiano. Like, these are not guys. He gave Houston Street a deal at the age of 32 when he was bad. You moved to 2017, 80 and 82. Now you're just floundering in the middle. Danny Espinosa at 30 years old hits 162 in 77 games. Ben Revere's playing left field. The pitching staff is Ricky Nolasco, J.C. Ramirez, Parker Bridwell, Tyler Skaggs. More on him in a minute. And Matt Shoemaker. Bud Norris is their closer. This is not a real team. 2018. He's still in charge. Mike Scioscia's still there. This team goes 80 and 82 again. Ian Kinsler is now their second baseman. Luis Valbuena is their third baseman. And the one thing that he does that actually pays off after he's gone is signing Shohei Ohtani. So maybe there's a leg up internationally. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's Ohtani was bad until after you left. It looks good. Fine. But why is Zach Cozart getting a big deal? Why did that guy get a big contract? The pitching rotation. Andrew Haney, Jaime Barria, Tyler Skaggs, Felix Pena, Garrett Richards, Nick Tropiano, with Blake Parker getting 14 saves. Okay, now you're just out of closers. You go to 2019, 72 and 90. He's tanking this team. Jonathan Lucroy gets 74 games at catcher, hitting 240. Luis Rengifo is the next second baseman to show up. David Fletcher now third base. Brian Goodwin got 136 games in the outfield. And the rotation, Andrew Heaney, Griffin Canning, Jaime Barria, Jose Suarez, Tyler Skaggs, again, and Dylan Peters. And as long as I'm talking about this in the 2019 season with Tyler Skaggs, Ben, do you remember what happened to Tyler Skaggs in 2019?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Yes. He passed away. This was under Billy Epler's watch. The buck stops with him, right? That's what he's hired for. You would expect him to take some sort of responsibility for that.
I don't agree with that at all, Joe. I don't think you can hold the general manager responsible of certain. I mean, he's not watching these guys once they go to bed at night and what they're putting into their body. We don't hold the Miami Marlins front office responsible for what happened to Jose Fernandez. You know, there are tragedies that happen, and I just don't think that we can correlate what the general manager is doing with his personnel and what a player does with his body necessarily.
You can when these prescriptions are coming from the team. I can't correlate the same thing you're saying about Jose Fernandez. Regardless, we go to the 2020 season now. 26 and 34. Luis Rengifo finally repeats at second base. Anthony Rendon comes on board because Artie Moreno finally decided, I need to know who my third baseman is. And he was okay. And all the while, you have the best player in baseball in Mike Trout, who put up 3 MVP seasons, a 4th, 5th, and 6th season where he finished second in the MVP, and 1 4th place finish in that period of time. And you're telling me you couldn't put a team together that got over 500? What does it say to Jacob deGrom, who is arguably the Mike Trout of the mound right now? And he can't get a winning team around him. Am I supposed to sit here and trust that this guy is going to be the guy to lead us into the next generation, the first real generation of Steve Cohen-owned baseball? I'm sorry. I don't have a whole lot of faith in this.
I think you bring up some excellent points, Joe, and I think you really hit on a lot of the big mistakes that he made. I completely forgot about Zach Cozart. And at the time, I was wondering why that guy got a lot of money. Lucroy obviously passed his prime when he got him. Ricky Nolasco, who never was a stud. He had maybe a couple of nice seasons, but another guy that you're just like, oh, okay. You know, he gave money to Matt Harvey, which, you know, at the time, you're wondering, oh, could he turn it around? But it's just another miss.
Are we also forgetting for a moment that he hired Mickey Callaway?
Yeah, that's a great point.
He hired Mickey Callaway after he got fired from the Mets. Like, and you knew about these things that were going on. So
no, I don't. He may have, but we didn't know about it.
Right. No, we found out about it after the fact.
After the signing, yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question as Mets fans?
Please.
Like, how come it's been so hard to find a competent GM? Like, how come there aren't GMs clamoring for this position? This is a premier position. This is the general manager of the New York Mets. Why has it been so hard to even get people to interview?
I have a couple of answers. Well, first of all, it's easy to put the scope right on the Mets because it's the Mets, right? But we can look at a lot of teams in baseball and say, wow, they've been bad for a really long time, and you kind of forget about it. And as far as your other question, if it's a premier job, well, is it as premier of a job as being the manager of the Chicago Cubs pre-2016? Because, I mean, what is really being expected of the Chicago Cubs after not winning a championship over 100 years? You're in a no-lose situation. You know, at that point, if they don't win the World Series again, what's the big deal? But Joe Madden took on that job. In 2015, they made the playoffs and they got swept out in the NLCS by the Mets. And then the next year, they win the whole damn thing. So maybe the expectations now change for the Chicago Cubs. But we could look around the league and we could see a lot of teams where they haven't had a competent GM for a very, very long time. I mean, we can look at Seattle as one of those. That GM, his first name starts with a Z. And it's escaping me what his name is, Zarinzik or something. But he had the gig for a couple
Jack Zdruzik, something to that effect. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't. But he was fired after a couple of years. He had some moves that missed. Robinson Cano, Felix Hernandez, re-signing him, and just all these little. And now they haven't been to the playoffs since 2001. The expectations of them are very different than that of the New York Mets. It's a job that I would love to have, Mike.
Right.
But for probably a lot of guys and girls, it's a job that holds a great deal of pressure, and the expectations are very high. And I'm not sure what it's like to work for Steve Cohen. Maybe they have a better idea of what it's like to work for Steve Cohen, but his expectations are here. So, it's a great question, Mike. My feeling is that if they had been bad for the last 20 years, say, like since they went to the World Series against the Yankees, it would be a different situation. But they did win the National League in 2015. They were good in 2016. Like their window hasn't closed yet. So like they should have been much better in 2017. 2018, I think, was the year that they started off like 11-2, and then they just like fell off the face of the earth. And
Wasn't
then
that the
so
first
on and
Mickey
so
Callaway
forth.
season? Yeah.
Yes.
We
2018.
finished with the exact same record this year that we did in that season of 77 and 85. Like this was, and you say that our window is still open. I don't necessarily tend to I don't think so.
Really?
I think this is a moment where we really have to look around at this team and go, all right, what are we expecting out of this team next year? Is James McCann anything? I don't know. Pete Alonso's fine. What about second base? Is Jeff McNeil there? Robinson Cano is still on the books?
Yes.
Or do we sign Javi Baez and now he's the second base?
No, I'm pretty sure that Robinson Cano will be on the team and playing in 2022, unfortunately, but I think he will be there and he's expected to be there.
So if that's the case, who's the third baseman?
Maybe it is McNeil. Yeah, I don't see. JD Davis is the one guy that I'm fairly sure will not be on the team next year.
Okay. And then the outfield now without Conforto, there's a lot of work to be done here. And
right,
100%. I don't think that necessarily means that the window is closed, because like the expectations on the team are not, let's rebuild here. It's not. At this point, it's they're going to be buying players to try to win a division.
And go ahead, Joe.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Please, Mike.
The only two additional points I was gonna bring to like the GM argument here is like, number one, you don't have very big shoes to fill, because if you look at the three guys that have preceded you, the bar is kind of low at this point. Can you do a worse job than Zach Scott and Jared Porter and Brody Van Wagen? I don't know, but in my opinion, I think you're coming in with the expectation of like, you know what, I'm gonna do better than those guys.
I just have to be a decent human being, and
Exactly.
I'm better than the last two.
Right.
And the real problem is Steve Cohen and Sandy Alderson have to get this one right. This has to work. Otherwise,
I have a yeah, I hear you. I have a question for you guys, and I think the answer is yes. But if the general manager is signed, are we not? Are we still looking for the guy that's sandwiched between him and Sandy Alderson, the head of baseball operations? Like, I would think
no, I
there's
think
still.
that's it.
That's it, really.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. I would think that's it.
Mike.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I mean, there's
think
nobody
that's it.
between the Steinbrenners and Brian Cashman, and Brian Cashman's been the GM forever.
All right. I thought that
Yeah.
we were looking for a general manager and a head of baseball operations, like both of them.
Nope.
So Billy Epler is both of those things now.
Yeah. With that being
Well-
said, I can't imagine the Mets not going out there and making some big splashes. And here we go again with a new GM showing up and making a big splash. Like, we did it with Francisco Lindor. We did it with Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz. What the fuck are we doing this year? Maybe we get in on Matt Chapman and an outfielder and a pitcher from
Maybe.
Oakland to just go for everything.
Maybe. I will already like Billy Epler if he says no thank you on Javi Baez. You know how I feel about it. He's the one guy I think would be the worst case scenario for this team, to bring back a guy who brought, in my opinion, more negative energy than positive. And though he was fairly solid offensively, I just think a guy that strikes out that much, when you have a guy like Pete Alonso who is going to strike out a bunch, I don't think it's conducive to a lot of important rallies early or late in a baseball game. I think he's more of a risk than it's worth, and he's going to command a good amount of money in the free agent market. So I would say no thank you on Javi Baez. What I will say about Epler, as far as giving him a little bit of a pass, is that I do know that Artie Moreno did have the horns on a lot of decisions that were made. And one of them in particular was Anthony Rendon. And Epler did not want Anthony Rendon. And Artie Moreno really wanted to make a splash. He really wanted that guy. And though Artie Moreno was willing to spend money, it wasn't a completely open pocketbook. It was when he wanted to spend that money and how he wanted to spend the money. And once all of those chips were put into Rendon, it kind of hamstrung Epler to do as much. So I'm willing to give him a pass, Joe. I'm willing to at least see what the guy is. No,
You're going to give him a 5-year pass on all the things that he's done on the Angels?
I understand, dude. I'm just saying this one point in particular. Okay. There was that circumstance where maybe if he doesn't sign that player, maybe he puts a little bit more into pitching, and who knows what happens. I agree. The track record is bad. But like Mike said, the bar is low. Like, everyone else has been pretty disappointing over the last 5 years. So
that's true.
Why not this guy?
We shall
Who
see.
else did you want at this point?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is that we're running out of good names here. And I don't necessarily like the idea of a retread who never had a winning season in charge on his own. So I just sort of shrugged my shoulders. That being said, let's move on here. Let's talk about some of these qualifying offers that now that all of the decisions are in. First up, we're going to talk about Eduardo Rodriguez, who declines the qualifying offer from Boston and goes to Detroit. 5 years, $77 million with an opt-out after the 2023 season, a no-trade clause, and $3 million extra in incentives. Mike Haber, this guy's now out of your division, so he can't own your New York Mets or your New York Yankees any longer. Thoughts on Eduardo to Detroit?
I like the move. I like the move for them. I was expecting Verlander to join him in that rotation. I know we'll get to him later, but I think he's a good veteran presence to have for what they have coming up, and for some guys trying to repeat. Like Casey Mize had a great season last year, and who only can build on that. And Eduardo Rodriguez is a left-handed pitcher who has thrown in the AL his entire career at this point, and he's moving to an easier division. I actually think this is a nice move for him.
Ben, your thoughts here, Eduardo Rodriguez?
He stole the words out of my mouth, Joe. The fact that he's a lefty, that he's been in the AL the whole time. I'm just repeating what Mike just said, and that he's going to an easier division, that he had to play against the New York Yankees. Basically, only hitters parks in that entire division. So he goes to a few pitchers parks now, Detroit being one of them. I think this only benefits him. And also just see, I don't know. I don't know what that guy is. Like, I haven't seen enough of his starts to know how he handles adversity when, he's pitching from the stretch. So how he handles these situations to go deep into games. I don't know enough about his mental prowess, but I would say that going to Detroit, there's a little bit less pressure than that in being in Fenway Park. So I think this can only benefit him personally.
I love the move, honestly. I think it's tremendous. Ben, you hit on the ballpark. Eduardo Rodriguez was pitching in Yankee Stadium, Rogers Center, Camden Yards,
Trop.
Fenway. Like, all of those were very hitter friendly, and he had a very interesting season this year. Did finish with a 4.74 ERA, but figured something out in the second half. I'm going to start asking some questions here, guys. In a vacuum, who are you taking next season? Eduardo Rodriguez or Charlie Morton, who will be on the Braves next year? Mike Haber.
I think Erod, just given age, given that he's going to a friendlier park, the Tigers have some promise for next year with Torkelson coming up. I'm going to go Erod.
I do love the Tigers' future here. Ben Nisman, Eduardo Rodriguez, or Tyler Mahle of Cincinnati?
Before I even get to Tyler Mahle, I'll say I agree with Mike on Erod over Charlie Morton. We don't even know Charlie Morton's health situation going into 2022, not to mention the fact that I'm fairly certain that there will be a DH in the National League as well. So at that point, it's a wash for me. And I would go with the guy that I've seen do more in an American League situation, even though I think Charlie Morton did a really good job in Houston and in Tampa Bay. Charlie Morton is 39 years old, whereas Erod is 31, 32 now?
Something around there.
Not even. He's 28.
Not even 30.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's 28, and he'll be
that's
29 in
number.
April. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is incredible. All right. Ben, Eduardo Rodriguez or Tyler Mahle?
Mahle is too brand spanking new for me. And it's the Great American Ballpark. It's probably the DH in the National League. I would go Eduardo Rodriguez there.
Okay. Two more AL guys, young here. Eduardo Rodriguez or Luis Garcia? Mike Haber.
Tough call. That is a good question. I actually probably would go Luis Garcia.
Ben, Luis Garcia?
Yeah, I agree. That guy really impressed me this year, even though he's very, very new. Love the Houston offense, even though they might lose Correa. I still prefer that offense over Detroit. So run support is so critical when you're targeting a guy in fantasy. So if we're talking in fantasy aspect, it would be Garcia.
All right. Last one here. Eduardo Rodriguez or Shane McClanahan? Mike Haber.
McClanahan.
Okay. Ben?
Erod. I don't want. McClanahan's in the AL East. I would rather, and he's very. We've seen him for just 1 year basically. It's not enough of a sample size, and I'm being kind of hypocritical because I just said I like Luis Garcia after 1 year basically, but I like Erod because I've seen more of him.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Not for nothing, I kind of get the feeling like Detroit's certainly not close to done here. They've got some places that they could certainly upgrade, shortstop being the biggest one. I would expect them to land one of these big shortstops that's out there. Whether it's Trevor Story, Javi Baez, Carlos Correa, Chris Taylor even comes into play here. There's plenty of big names for that position. I could see them trying to get in on Starling Marte as well to upgrade at center field, because right now their center fielder is pegged to be either Victor Reyes or like Harold Castro or like one of these Akil Baду. Like one of these guys is going to play center field right now. They could probably stand an upgrade there. Finally, the third upgrade I could see is in the bullpen. And Gregory Soto had a nice season, but is he really a closer? Is anybody like Ben? Is he a
I don't
closer?
know. Yeah, I don't know, man. We know how year to year relievers are and closers are. So he could be Rafael Iglesias, or
I mean,
it could be
is Michael Fulmer still an option for them
probably,
I suppose he would be.
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, he's supposed to be their eighth inning guy. He had a pretty nice season too. If that's the answer, then maybe that's where they go. Or they could just go sign Mark Melancon for 2 seasons and see what you get out of it, you know?
Yeah. That seems like a job that might be just decided in spring training. Whatever AJ Hinch wants at that given time.
They went out and got AJ Hinch. They went out and got Tucker Barnhart from Cincinnati. It sounds like they're going to try to lock him up. Miggy's probably got one more run in him at this point as a full-time DH. Candelario's your first baseman. He led the league in doubles this past year. Spencer Torkelson was the number 1 overall pick in 2020. Robbie Grossman got a nice deal out of them. Like they're building towards something here. I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah, and Badu was impressive as well. I mean, that's not a guy we could just like poo-poo at. He might actually be a dangerous hitter for a full season.
He could be something. I mean, Mike, you had him for a bunch of the year.
Yeah. He carried me at certain points in the season. He's a power speed threat that is still really young. And hey, if that lineup gets better around him, I see him scoring 100 runs and stealing 20, 30 bases,
Yeah. 124 games as a 22-year-old. It's like 13 home runs, 18 steals. That's pretty damn impressive.
It's good. I mean, you extrapolate that into a full season.
You're talking 2025, 2030, maybe on the high end.
I think so. Yeah,
and
maybe
he's
the
only
batting
22.
average. Maybe the batting average will go up. If he's only 22, that means that by the time he's 26, 27, he'll get bigger. He'll probably gain more power. So that's something to look at. Victor Reyes, do we know what he is yet? The question is like, is he more like a Juan Pierre or is he more Ben Revere? Yeah. Because those are, I mean, I'm trying to think of guys that are quick, that are pesky, that can hit you, one in the gap or, get you a triple. But we know where Ben Revere went, and I think Juan Pierre had the better career.
Sure. I mean, not for nothing, in 76 games this past season, 5 homers, 5 steals. I mean, that's a 10-10 season with a 250 batting average, 284 on base. Like, he had 8 walks and over 200 at bats. Like,
that's not good.
That's not good. That's not good. So I could see them upgrading there. Yeah. We're going to move on to another team who's building for the future and building for right now. Jose Barrios signs long-term in Toronto, 7 years, $131 million. But as it turns out, when you do that math real quick, that's basically the qualifying offer a season. It's $18.7 million a year for the next 7 years to keep this guy in Toronto. I don't think he'll ever be an ace. I really don't think we're ever going to see the high upside that the Twins expected and that maybe the Blue Jays are signing up for here. But he's a really good 2. He's a really good 2. Mike Haber, you're going to face this guy for the next 7 years potentially. What do you see? Another guy that you're familiar with from our fantasy season.
Yeah. And the Yankees have handled him pretty well, so I'm okay with it. But from that perspective, but yeah, he, like you said, he's a great 2. They still have Hyun-Jin Ryu. They still have Alek Manoah, who was incredible this season. They've got Nate Pearson, who is hopefully going to come back.
Yeah, he was working down at AAA this past year. It was a bit of an injury-plagued season for him. I'm pulling up his numbers from AAA this past year. Looks like 30 2/3 innings, a 4.40 ERA for Toronto, 15 innings, a 4.80 ERA. Not great, but he's 22. Oh no, he's 25 already. He's already 25. So you know what? Maybe he's a bullpen piece. Maybe he's a back end of the bullpen piece that they can put together. I think the fact that Kirby Yates got hurt pushed their ability to go to the postseason back one season, because we weren't supposed to have Jordan Romano and whoever the hell else we had closing games for them this past year.
Julian Merriweather.
Jordan Merriweather. I don't even know what this dude is.
Julian, yeah.
Hyun-Jin Ryu, Jose Barrios, Alek Manoah. That's a pretty good first three. What if they go out and like go crazy and spend on Max Scherzer for 3 seasons?
Or just re-sign the reigning AL Cy Young winner, Robbie Ray.
Yeah,
I mean,
you could.
Guys, to me, this move, this signing, to me tells me 2 things. One, that Robbie Ray is not coming back. That they are going to delegate their money to make this their front 3. And it tells me that this was a signing they basically had to make. Because, to be honest with you, we like this rotation. Do I love this front 3? I don't. Like, I think this is something that you're really hoping can get you through a whole season. This, as your front 3, to me, is not enough. If you're trying to win a division, to me, this is not enough. You need another guy, but they're not going to spend crazy money. I mean, they put in Springer. I feel like they'll more than likely get these back end kind of guys and just hope for the best. But as of right now, to rely on Ryu as the ace, Mike, do you like that already? Is Ryu an ace?
Well,
is he a number 1?
No, he's not a number 1 anymore. And this is a team that should have made the playoffs this year with this rotation that they had.
Right.
Because given what Ryu did the year before this, or 2 years before this, and given what Robbie Ray did this year, plus the resurgence of or the addition of Jose Barrios, plus Alek Manoah coming from nowhere, like this past year was the year.
Right.
So like, I hear you, Ben. I think that it's on paper it's a dangerous front 3, but I think they do need another arm there. And
yeah.
If you can't do it with the Cy Young winner, who are you going to do it with?
Right. I don't see them going crazy and spending on one of those frontline guys. I think Barrios was it. Like, that's their frontline guy, and they're going to sprinkle in other guys and see what they have out of spring training. And maybe they find another Manoah, in their farm. That could happen.
Anthony Kay is still there. Thomas Hatch is still there. Nate Pearson's still a guy. They've still got Ross Stripling, who could be something. Like,
I'm not optimistic about Anthony Kay.
Okay, but we're not putting faith into guys like Tanner Roark to be a frontline starter. You're not putting faith into those type of names. You've got your front 3 in whatever order they want to put them. Alek Manoah may be the best of the 3 at this point. He may be the ace. Like, if that's what we're looking at here.
Yes. If he actually is the ace, then you have something.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, we slate him as the number 3. Right. If he actually, takes the bull by the horns and actually becomes the guy that every single time he's out, he's going almost 7 innings, 2 earned, and you're getting that consistently, that changes everything. Because that moves everybody down. That would work for a whole season, but we're not expecting it.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Here's what I was going to say about the Blue Jays too. What they have at their disposal and at their benefit is that they don't have to spend money on anything else. Their offense is a complete team, in my opinion. I mean, can you name
maybe a bench piece? Maybe a bench piece.
Yeah. Right.
But like, if you're spending any more money on the offseason, it's going to be on pitching.
Right. Because I guess you basically replace.
Do you bring back Marcus Semien? That's the question.
I was about to say, I don't think the money is there for them to do that. I would assume that Kevin Biggio being healthy for a whole year is the replacement, a weaker replacement for Semien. And Kevin Biggio might be very good. He's never, I don't think he'll ever put up the kind of numbers that Semien put up last year. But you don't need him to do that for the team to be successful.
No.
Because you have other guys to do that. You need Vlad to be Vlad. You need Bo Bichette to be him. You need Gurriel Jr. to be something. You need
Oscar Hernandez.
Teoscar Hernandez to be a
and
star.
George Springer needs to show up for a season.
Springer. You got enough.
Springer needs to show up.
Without Semien, there's enough there offensively to just outslug teams for a month.
Yeah.
But how disgusting that this team had Vlad, Semien, and the Cy Young winner and did not make the playoffs.
Right. That is pretty impressive. It's pretty disappointing.
And Bichette had a really good year. Bichette had a good year. Teoscar was not an all-star. I believe he was. So
Teoscar Hernandez this past year.
I think he was.
Yes, he was. He was an all-star and a silver slugger. So going back to Barrios here for 2022, gentlemen. Jose Barrios or Joe Musgrove? Mike Haber.
I'm gonna take Barrios.
Okay. Ben?
Wow, that's a really tough one, man, because Musgrove plays in a pitcher's park, but the DH might end up there as well. So I would probably say that I like the offense more on Toronto. So I hope that the run support would be there more for Barrios. So I would probably pick him. But that's a tough one.
All right. Next one, Jose Barrios or Shohei Ohtani pitcher? Mike Haber. Ohtani. Ben?
Barrios.
Okay.
I think, I feel like Shohei Ohtani is, to me, gonna end up being like a number 3 starter.
Okay.
And again, it's the Toronto offense. Like, I like it more than the Angels offense, at least right now. Before, like, we're talking now, not in March.
No, we're talking.
We know what these teams are going to look like.
Yes. The last one I will go with here, Mike Haber, Jose Barrios or Max Fried?
I think Max Fried.
Ben, you owned Max Fried.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, after Max Fried throws that shutout against you in the semifinals, and he pitched so damn well down the stretch. He pitched well basically all of September. He showed me that he can get ripped apart in a lot of starts. Like, he certainly did that often for me, but that was like first half woes. And then after the injury, after he got it together, after the team kind of found themselves, and this guy is confident he can just go on a string of like 10 or 11 starts and be a stud. So gotta say, the team just won the World Series. I feel like the pressure is kind of off his shoulders. I think he's going to pitch really well this year.
All right. Speaking of pitchers who we hope pitch well this year, at least up until the other day, I was hoping that guy was going to pitch really well next season. Noah Syndergaard, out of nowhere, like an RKO, signed here $21 million on the Angels? Weird. The Mets are going to receive a compensatory draft pick for giving them a qualifying offer. That's what we're going to get for, potentially like $36.8 million that we were going to offer to Michael Conforto and Noah Syndergaard. They're both gone. Ben, I'm going to open this up with you. Noah Syndergaard, 1 year, $21 million. Would you have done it to keep him?
No, Joe, I really wouldn't. We didn't see the guy pitch in 2020. How many starts did he have in 2021? 1? Two. And how did he do in those starts?
He pitched 2 whole innings combined, so he was the opener. And he gave up 2 earned runs.
Look, it's a small sample size. I'm not going to knock him for that, but it's the small sample size. It's just in his last full season, he didn't play. And in 2020, he didn't play. And in 2019, I don't remember him really playing either. So
no, he had 32 starts. He had 32 starts, but he threw a 4.28 ERA. He was bad.
Maybe I'm thinking of 2018 or 2017, where
2017 he only threw 7 starts.
Right.
30 innings in 2017. So he's missed 3 of the previous 6 seasons. And when he was around, a 3.03 ERA with 13 wins in 2018, that's serviceable.
It's really good.
And in 2019, 197 2/3 with a 4.28 ERA, 200 strikeouts.
It's that's manageable.
It's fine.
Maybe that is
the answer.
Right. Like, I feel like those numbers are worth that amount of money these days. it probably wasn't worth 20 million in like 2016, 2017 when you hear those statistics. But like, as I feel like just the money is getting crazy. Like just run of the mill guys get 20 million a year now. Like that's just what the going rate is. So I understand that that's probably what he deserves, like what he would get. But I, as a Mets fan, I don't need that guy on my team. I think it's the end of an era in a way. Like when we had that
4 aces are
group
done.
of guys.
5 aces
Count
are
them
done.
5. Yeah, that's it.
Harvey's
They're all
gone. Syndergaard's
Yeah,
an
it's
Angel.
just DeGrom.
Yeah, DeGrom's the only one left. Mike
Right.
Haber, I'll ask you this. $21 million. The Yankees are in need of some starting pitching. Would you have signed Noah Syndergaard?
In 2022, no. After what we took some risks last year, and for 2021, we took risks with Kluber, with Tyone, guys coming off injuries, and I'm tired of that. If we're gonna spend the money, let's spend the money on a guy that is consistent and that pitches.
Right.
And
but yeah.
No, I was just gonna. I mean, the Angels have some work to do here still.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
With Ohtani and Syndergaard, and I like Patrick Sandoval, but like, what else you got on that team?
Jose Suarez, Jaime Barria, Packy Naughton.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah, Suarez might be something.
Now, Reed Detmers was a first-round draft pick. He's in AAA. He might be a guy. Griffin Canning. Ben, how do you feel about Griffin Canning? That's all we needed to hear. They literally have a guy named Junk in their system.
Yes, they do.
He's a pile of junk. I don't know. I still think they've got a lot to do. They didn't go get Hyun-Jin Ryu last year. Instead, they spent on, or 2 years ago, they spent on Anthony Rendon. And they've done this before with Alex Cobb and Jared Weaver, Dylan Bundy, Matt Harvey. Like Tim Lincecum was there for a minute. Like there's so many guys you can think of that have come through here. And guess who was hiring half of them? Billy Epler. But
yeah, that's why I could kind of see them making more splash on a guy like Scherzer. You know, I could see them deciding, okay, Noah, he's going to be in the rotation. We're not putting 20 million a year on our ace. We're going to spend that like, $200+ million contract on one of the big names. Maybe it's Robbie Ray. Maybe it's Scherzer. I can still see the Angels making a big splash.
So we've played this exercise with Eduardo Rodriguez. We've played this exercise with Jose Barrios. Time to play this game with Noah Syndergaard. Guys, Noah Syndergaard or Ryan Yarbrough in 2022? Mike Haber.
God, I don't want either one. Let's go Yarbrough just because he plays for the Rays.
All right, Ben.
I'll take Noah. I guess I feel like they're signing him because they think that he's healthy enough, and the Angels' offense will get better this year. The Angels' offense has to get better next year. With you would assume Trout will be there, Rendon will be healthy for a whole year. I would think between those two guys, and they have Ohtani. It's a decent
Ohtani,
lineup.
Trout, Jared Walsh, Anthony Rendon, Max Stassi at catcher, Brandon Marsh, Joe Adell, whoever they get to play shortstop, and David Fletcher. Yeah.
Upton's not there anymore.
Upton's a bench piece. He's a really expensive bench piece, and I mean right now they're saying Ohtani's the DH. So
right,
because that's a thing.
Yeah.
What they
I guess
really
you could
need is
have
a middle
Upton in left field, no? You could hide him out there in left, I think. Still.
Yeah. I think you could split time with one of these young kids, either Marsh or Adele.
Yeah.
See that happening. It's got to be better, but I don't think it's going to be is it going to be a world beater offense? No, I don't think it'll stand up to Toronto. I don't think it'll stand up to LA or San Diego or even the Yankees in times. Like
it might. I mean, if Ohtani can have, it doesn't even have to have that kind of season. Like he could take a step down. If you have a Trout season, you have Anthony Rendon doing what he normally does, like they could be a very dangerous offense.
Let me ask you this one: Noah Syndergaard, or I'm trying to find a guy who's already on a team for next year. Chris Paddock, Mike Haber.
Noah Syndergaard.
Okay, Ben.
No, yeah, for sure.
All right,
I think
last one.
Paddock might be a flash in the pan kind of guy.
He might be. He might be. Last one here, Mike. This one's going to hit home for you. Noah Syndergaard or Jordan Montgomery.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go Kluber. Jordan Montgomery.
Ben.
I agree. Yeah, Jordan
Okay.
Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery should prove to me this, like that he could come back from an injury and wear the pinstripes and, you know, come out there and, you know, follow up start after start with something that you can use and possibly winning. You know, if he gives you competent 5 to 6 innings, you know, even if he gives up 4 earned runs, you should still be able to stay in that game and maybe win late innings.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to Noah Syndergaard as a New York Met, and in that case, goodbye, Noah.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. Justin Verlander is returning to the Houston Astros. 1 year, $25 million, so 4 more than Noah. He also declines the qualifying offer, obviously. Mike Haber, how are you feeling about Verlander? This could be a guy you're seeing in the playoffs if the Yankees and Astros are going to see each other again.
I'm not happy about it. I would have loved to see him go to a team that had something to prove this year, like the Tigers, who it's like they're up and coming, and you know, he could have brought that team like into the playoffs for the first time in years. I would have loved that story much more than like, oh, let me just hitch my anchor to this Astro team who, I don't know. I'm over it.
You're just over Houston in general, aren't you?
I'm over Houston in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben Nisman?
The 25 million is a lot of money from a guy coming off a major surgery that's 39 years old. I understand he's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, and there are plenty of pitchers that pitch very well in their late 30s. But it just, I mean, you haven't seen him throw in a really long time. Maybe they know something that we don't. And like he was basically ready to pitch in the World Series. Like, I don't know. I don't know. 25 million 1 year. It seems like they might be just setting $25 million on fire.
It could be. It could be. He'll join the rotation with Lance McCullers, Framber Valdez, Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy. It's not a terrible rotation, if I'm honest. Verlander, he doesn't need to be the ace there. I think all of these guys could have ceilings of number 2, Verlander being the all-time ace. This could be a decent team. And yeah, they lose Correa, but you still got Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, Yuli Gurriel's coming back. Kyle Tucker's still there.
Tucker's going to be great.
Tucker's going to be amazing. And then you're talking about, okay, who's your center field, shortstop, and catcher? Martin Maldonado is a Gold Glove catcher. You're keeping him there. So it really boils down to who are you replacing Carlos Correa with, and who are you replacing George Springer with? Those are the 2 questions with this team, and you continue on this track. Is this a dynasty? Like, is the Houston Astros the last 5 or 6 years a dynasty, Ben?
No, I think you need to win more than one championship to be considered a dynasty. I understand they've had prolonged success, but going to the playoffs, going to the NLCS, going to the World Series isn't like winning a pair of them. And the fact that they've gone to 3 now and they've only come out with 1 at the end, it was the first one that they were in, that to me is not a dynasty. I think you need more than just prolonged success. You need multiple rings. But at the same time, they're becoming, I don't want to say they're similar to the Dodgers, but they're close in that like model franchise. Look, the fact that like you would kill to have a group like this with a window that's been open for this long. Yeah. Because now we're talking about since 2015, right? Like 2015, they were pretty close to knocking out the Royals, and the Royals just had this like crazy inning, and then all of a sudden, like the Royals knocked out the Astros, but like they could have won that series, and then you never know what happens in 2015. So it's been 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're talking about 7 years they've been this good. So
Yeah.
I mean,
would anyone have guessed? Because this was supposed to be the Chicago Cubs, and it was the Houston Astros. Like in 2015, you look at the Cubs and you're like, this is a team with a window that's open for as long as possible. And look at them. They fell apart.
Little did we know.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible franchise for the past 6-7 years, and we're just going to see it again next year. They're certainly the favorites to win the West again. Here's the question in the exercise, gentlemen. Justin Verlander or Chris Sale in 2022?
Ooh, that's
Mike Haber.
That's a tough one. I think if I were drafting, I mean, I haven't seen Verlander pitch in how long? And we saw Sale start to regain his form a bit. So I think I may actually lean in that direction, honestly.
You're gonna go Chris Sale. Ben?
Yeah, I'm not even hesitating. My answer is Chris Sale. We at least saw him pitch.
Okay.
And he's much younger than Verlander. To me, it's a no-brainer that it would be Sale.
Okay. Justin Verlander or Yu Darvish? Mike Haber.
I mean, it's tough to be black and white like that, because like I'd have to see where these guys were falling in the draft. You know, like do I want to pay third round draft picks for Justin Verlander? No.
No way.
Right.
So like if that's where he's going, I'm not gonna take him there.
But I can't see him going that early though. No way. A third round? No. In the first 47 something picks? No. Of course not.
Okay, 5th round. Would you take Justin Verlander?
No. I just told you, I think they might be setting $25 million on fire right now. Like the guy needs to show that he can throw at least 25 starts. I don't know if he's going to do that.
So in NFBC, I told you NFBC is doing drafts. They've completed 9 full 15-man drafts. Justin Verlander has a high draft position of 124th and a low draft position of 206th.
Wow.
For an average draft position of 166. That puts him around the following names: Marcus Stroman.
Wow.
Adam Wainwright. Clayton Kershaw. Sonny Gray. Zach Gallen.
That's lower than I expected him to go. And hey, if this guy has a dynamite spring training, I think I could see him rising up at the draft rankings. I mean,
yeah,
we have to see something from him.
Yeah.
I think at this point I would not draft him over Darvish, but he could have an explosive spring training, and then who knows?
All right.
Yeah, it would have to be explosive though. It can't be like we've seen 2 innings like here and there, you know, like you got to see something. And usually that's what happens in spring training, right? Like you kind of only see them towards the end start to pitch 4 or 5 innings. In the beginning, it's like 2 and then the next guy.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, moving on. Brandon Belt is the only one to accept a qualifying offer this season. $18.4 million, 1 year. He's back in San Francisco. And you know what? Like, this is a pretty good fit. They had the duct tape C on his uniform last season during the playoffs. Like, this guy just seems to fit on that team. I like this. Now you can make your pitch to Chris Bryant to stick around and play third base for you, and you're good to go. Brandon Belt, Mike Haber, good fit for San Francisco?
Absolutely. This is the kind of player that this team needs. This is like the Brandon Crawford. This is like honestly a clubhouse guy too, who brings the players together. He was there when the Giants couldn't win more than 70 games like a couple seasons ago, and he's been a part of it every year, and I think he fits perfectly, gels perfectly with this team.
Coming off of a great year, 29 homers, 59 RBIs, 274 batting average, 378 on base percentage. Ben, Brandon Belt, Thoughts? Him returning for his age 34 season to play first base for the Giants.
Yeah, I think this is very reasonable money to get a guy like this. I realize the RBI total is somewhat low for 29 home runs, but I feel like the RBIs got very scattered amongst a lot of different players for them to have the kind of offensive prowess that they had last year. So I'm not going to hold that against him. The batting average is impressive enough to me. The on-base percentage is impressive enough to me. And homegrown guy, right? That's just been there through basically all the, I don't know if he was on that 2010 team. I don't think he was, but he might have been in the system by then. He was probably in the farm at that point, but definitely 2012 and 2014. And it just fits the mold there. And like Mike said, I think because it was such reasonable money, under $19 million, that you could go and get something else, whether it be a Bryant, whether it be, a Seager, maybe to play third. Who knows?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what San Francisco does to follow this up, but they're keeping their core together. They lost Buster Posey, so they're going to have to go find a catcher, or they're going to play Joey Bart and Kurt Casale. We will see what the outcome is there. But they're going to keep their core together. Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt. Now their pitching staff is probably going to be the question mark as they move forward as well. We'll play this exercise with first baseman here, gentlemen. Brandon Belt or Jesus Aguilar in Miami? Mike Haber.
I'm gonna go Aguilar here.
Ben?
Home runs, RBIs. Yeah.
It's hard to say right now because I don't know what those teams are going to look like by spring training. Like both teams still have a lot of work to do to complete their roster. I guess right now, I'd probably say Belt if you're telling me that Belt is going to be the regular guy and he's going to play 150 games. I feel like Aguilar is more of a strikeout guy, I would think. I could be wrong there. And I've seen more success from Belt over a career.
What scares me about offensive players on the Giants, though, is I see them as like the Rays of the NL, in that like they have a lot of these like utility players that can play multiple positions, where like you may not see Brandon Belt play more than 100 and
that's what I'm saying. Like given that
played 97 this past season.
Yeah, see, that's not a lie. If that's the kind of role he's going to have, then yeah, I would say Aguilar. But that's what I was saying. Given if you're going to tell me he's going to play like 145 games, then I would rather have Belt.
Yeah.
Moving on, Mike just mentioned the Tampa Bay Rays. They are opening up roster spots on their 40-man. They send away Mike Brasso to the Brewers. They trade Lewis Head to Miami for a player to be named later. And they go ahead and cut Dietrich Enns so he can sign over in Korea. Ben Nisman, I'll start with you and Mike Brasso, as that's the only guy whose name you recognized when we were talking about this pre-show. So Mike Brasso to the Brewers in 2022. How do you like that guy?
Obviously, super new guy. My one thought in my head is that the guy had a really important home run for the Rays against the Yankees in the 2020 playoffs that basically ended their season. I think that home run was off Mariano Rivera off of Aroldis Chapman.
Not hard.
I can't believe I said that. Yeah, off Chapman.
Yeah,
it was.
So
it was. And
another big bomb given up by Chapman in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, it's a guy that's so young that it's just hard to actually make any kind of evaluation on what he's going to be.
So Mike Brasso is 27 years old. Actually, he'll be 28 in March.
Okay.
He's an old new player, right? He much fits the vein of Luke Voigt, who came up about this point and has been serviceable for the Yankees. Look, I mean, he has 16 career home runs. He hit 245 in his career. He hit 187 in 2021 across 150 at bats. it's not much. It's not much to write home about. And at the same time, been looking for a third baseman for I can't remember how long. Like right now, Luis Urias is their third baseman, allegedly. That guy's gonna be manning third base. I mean, I
Was
don't
that
think
guy
he
good
had
last year though?
249 average, 23 homers, 75 RBIs, 77 runs scored, 63 walks for a 345 on base percentage. It's not
Not awful.
terrible.
No.
Yeah, it's not terrible. And I mean, this is
It's better than I thought he would be.
yeah. And if you throw this Brasso in with Dan Fogelback and Rowdy Tellez in the first base rotation, I think you'll get a decent player out of the guy. I don't think this is something that's gonna move mountains. However,
Yeah.
they received back a right-hander named Evan Reifert. In low and high A this past year, 60 innings pitched, 103 strikeouts, 8 saves, and a 2.10 ERA. But 36 walks is not exactly pretty. That's like a little more than one every 2 innings. It's not very good. If he can get
Well,
that down, and this is what translates, awesome. They found another bullpen piece that throws 98.
on the side of the Brewers, I think that they're going to just try and find all these little offensive pieces to see which one is the explosion. Because to me, their offense is basically terrible. I mean, when you see their 1 through 9 every day, you're like, who am I really scared of besides Christian Yelich when he's Christian Yelich?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can find a way to neutralize that, then what else do you have to worry about? You could pitch to anyone in that lineup. What Avisail Garcia is that
The free agent.
threat?
He's not on the team right now.
Right. So
if you were to start this lineup today, you would have Colton Wong, Willie Adames, Christian Yelich, Rowdy Tellez, Luis Urias, Juan Narvaez, whatever a Tyrone Taylor is, and a 30-something-year-old Lorenzo Cain.
Yeah. No.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's
you need Colton Wong to be awesome in order for you to have a good season. Like if that guy is like, if he's like Roger Cedeno of 2002, like you're screwed. You're screwed.
Yeah.
So
they're going to rely on their pitching again.
It's just too much to rely on. I mean, you cannot expect those couple of dudes to have those kinds of seasons again. You need them to now. So they got to do more than a Brasso. They got to bring in a thumper.
I'm not going to do the exercise with Brasso at any position because
please don't.
No, just not going.
Or with Louis Head.
Louis Head, Mike Haver. He's going to Miami. He's just going to end up being another bullpen piece along the sidelines of like Richard Blyer and Anthony Bass. Thoughts on him?
Not really. I mean, I'm a little bit shocked that the Rays let him go. I thought he did well for them coming out of their arm barn. And I'm surprised that they sent, well, I guess Dietrich Enns made the decision on his own.
He's going to Korea. They said Asia, so I don't know if it's Korea or Japan, but
is he going to play baseball or he's just going to Asia?
He's just going there. He's going to go tour Thailand or something. I don't know. No,
he must have gotten a somewhat lucrative deal from a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's still a super young guy, right?
And I mean, we've seen guys go over to. That's Derek Dietrich. That's not who I want.
No,
baseball reference.
Wrong Dietrich.
Yeah. The guy, he's actually already 30.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's off to Asia. Could he turn around and be Chris Flexen? Could he turn around and be Merrill Kelly? Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Does he have what it takes to make ends meet? I don't know.
That's going on TikTok. Moving on. We'll talk about the awards and talk about Manager of the Year first. I don't think it was any surprise. Gabe Kapler wins Manager of the Year in the National League. Mike Haber, we didn't have you on the show here for those awards. The AL was Kevin Cash, who you're very familiar with. Thoughts on these two? And I think you had Gabe Kapler in the NL, right?
I had Gabe Kapler in the NL. I was hoping Scott Service would have gotten a little more attention in the AL. That's who I was like. I knew he wasn't going to win, and I knew Kevin Cash was the guy. But what the Mariners did this past year was incredible for
Yeah.
what they had. So
Exactly.
I mean, Kevin Cash was expected to do what he did. Scott Service was not expected to do what he did, and so that's why I wanted him to get a little more love. But yeah, Gabe Kapler for me was a shoo-in.
Ben, thoughts? Gabe Kapler, Kevin Cash?
Gabe Kapler was a lock. You know, once we saw the kind of season that they were having, he was a lock, you know, before September started. But Kevin Cash, to me, is a really good call. Like I thought it would be Dusty Baker. I thought that he was to actually get a full season with this group under the kind of scrutiny, you know, and have to warm up to that situation. I think he did a very impressive job, but I think Kevin Cash is a good call. I totally think that was deserved award for him.
All right, rookies of the year this past season. Jonathan India, no surprise in the NL, very strong season from him. Randy Arozarena in the American League. Mike Haber, I'll go to you first, and again with a Ray. Randy Arozarena.
Yeah, no, I'm not about that at all. I think there was a better rookie of the year candidate on his team. And I think there were plenty of other guys that in my opinion stood out and carried their team and stepped up. Adolis Garcia was a guy who I think should have gotten more love. Emmanuel Clase, who was an incredible closer for the Indians. I'm not just biased because he was on my fantasy team and I named my team after him. He he deserved it. He deserved the love, but like he's a closer, you know. Did Wander Franco qualify?
Third, he finished third in the voting. Had got 30 first place votes, or I'm sorry, he got 2 first place votes, 30 overall, but finished third. To me, the biggest slight, Ryan Mountcastle, who had 33 home runs and 89 RBIs with a 250 batting average on 309 on base. That's for a last place Baltimore Orioles team. Like that's where you recognize the Orioles, right? Benji, your thoughts? AL Rookie of the Year and Jonathan India.
Jonathan India, I had him as the NL Rookie of the Year. I thought that was a lock and well deserved. Stunned by Arozarena winning that award. I kind of felt like the voters might slight him just because they saw enough of him in 2020, even though he still qualified as a rookie. Like maybe the voters would take that away from him. But yeah, it seemed like there were a lot of guys that deserved it more. I'm not saying the guy had a bad year. I'm not exactly sure the numbers that he had that made him stand out as the Rookie of the Year. I just don't know his numbers well enough and how they matched up with other guys. But what about that pitcher on Houston? I feel like
he finished second.
basically okay. So that makes sense to me. But I think I probably would have given it to him. Mike, what was the name of the team when you had Clase as the captain?
Houston Clase, San Diego.
Oh, SD, or were you able to spell out San Diego?
SD.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, that would be a lot of characters because, like, I would think like coming out of the Clase would just be too many characters. Also, but that was the one.
That would have been a good one, though.
Yeah,
I agree. AL and NL Cy Young. This guy right here called Corbin Burns as the NL Cy Young. That dude is a sexy beast winning that thing. And Robbie Ray, the AL Cy Young winner. Mike Haber, coming back to you.
Why do you always come back to him first?
Because I'm going to AL East, guys, and he's the Yankee fan. Robbie
I feel
Ray.
like you go to him first a lot.
Well, I'll go to him. I'll go to you on the next one. I'll go to you first with the MVP. Robbie Ray in the AL East winning the Cy Young over your Yankees, yet not making the playoffs. How bad do you want to sign this dude to be the 2 behind Cole right now?
Yeah, I would take that. I would certainly take that. No, I think Robbie Ray is the deserved winner. And you would think that as a Yankee fan I'd be pushing for Cole, but I don't think he deserved it over Robbie Ray. Like completely objectively, I think Robbie Ray was the better option down in the stretch, like the stretch run of the end of August into September. You can't look at the playoffs and I mean, Garrett Cole got destroyed in that wild card game, but you can't look at that. And he was great for us, but Robbie Ray was the clear winner for me.
A 2.84 ERA, 193 innings, 248 strikeouts. Ben, Robbie Ray was outstanding. And Corbin Burns, for what it's worth, 167 innings pitched, 234 strikeouts. That was my whole driving force right there was, what's this dude going to do when he gets to 200?
Yeah, 100%. And Zach Wheeler, it sounded like he had the same amount of first place votes as Burns, but Burns just had more second place votes than Wheeler. And that's why he wins it over Wheeler. Personally, you could have given it to either of those guys for the NL and they would have deserved it. As the AL and the AL Cy Young was a lock. It just seems so practical and logical that you would give that award to Ray. Through a full season, you'd have to say that Ray was better. There were just too many stretches during the season where Cole was, a question. You weren't sure what kind of start he would have. And there were a couple of Sundays where he just got ripped apart. So, I just, even though there are things about Robbie Ray that are still his bugaboo, walks, home runs given up, for him to go to Yankee Stadium and try to work out those things, that might not be a great fit for the Yankees or for him. I think he might benefit more from going to a pitcher's park where they can kind of hold down those home runs just a bit, at least that part of it. And then he can work on the free passes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. If he goes, could you imagine if he went to Detroit too? Right. That would be incredible.
What about the Mets?
The Mets should want to sign this guy. Our ballpark plays well to his strengths, and being the lefty to Jacob deGrom's right-handed, 1-2 punch would be really good. We got to do something. Lost Noah Syndergaard. Marcus Stroman's a free agent. Like, what's our number behind deGrom right now? Is it Carrasco or Taijuan Walker?
Neither. It might be McGill. It actually might be McGill.
I don't know. All right, Ben. I'm going to come to you first here.
What?
NL MVP is Bryce Harper. Tell me about Bryce Harper's season, Ben Nisman.
Well, he's a walk machine. He's an on-base machine. I don't think he deserved the award because of how he played in that final series against the Braves. He laid an egg when they really needed him most against the team they were fighting to win the division. On that alone, I wouldn't have given him the award, but I understand probably based on statistics why he got the award, but I don't know, man. To me, most valuable means like you brought your team to the playoffs. To me, that's what it means. But
one of the six finalists teams made the playoffs this year. Vlad and Semien over in the AL losing out to Shohei Ohtani, which is who I'm going to come to Mike Haber about. Ohtani, the batter, was on your team and carried you quite a long way, Mr. Haber. He was kind of unanimous. He was, in fact, unanimous about this AL MVP award. Tell me about him.
Yeah, I remember we did a mid-year show, and we were already calling this guy the MVP. And his numbers reflected that. And he had a rough and a poor second half. And so for this guy to have won the MVP based on pretty much his first half is pretty incredible. And it just goes to show what this guy did was historic. I don't think we'll see a season like it ever again.
Or we could see it next year.
We could.
Right.
That's what's crazy about this guy is only 27. He won't be 28 until mid-season next year. And you hit the nail on the head with the first and second half splits. First half, 279, 364 on base, 33 homers, 70 RBIs, 12 steals. Second half, 229, 382 on base. Nobody was pitching to him. 13 homers, 30 RBIs. He's going to have to learn to adjust whatever they were doing in the second half Having Mike Trout in the lineup will probably help a little bit. Having Anthony Rendon in the lineup will probably help a little bit. I could see these numbers being maybe even better. That's the scariest thing to think about.
Yeah, I would say like the RBI numbers should be higher. If he's going to have a little bit more protection in the line. And I don't know, is he going to be batting leadoff?
He could be the leadoff hitter for all we know.
Yeah. So I mean, even like you look at his RBI numbers based on the fact that he was leading off a lot, and that Trout and Rendon weren't there. Like, they're still impressive RBI numbers, but I wonder, like, could he get like to like 120 RBIs? Could he get to like 120 runs? So
I mean, this past season he put up 100 RBIs and 103 runs scored without those guys in the lineup.
Yeah, he was the guy. He was the only person that was doing damage in that lineup. And and he did it.
There was a moment where Fletcher started hitting well in the 9 spot.
Jared Walsh,
and I'm sure he was. Yeah, he sure did. He actually did. But Fletcher was getting on a lot for Ohtani, and then once Fletcher was hitting around 300, they moved Fletcher to the leadoff spot, and he was still good for a little bit, but then tailed off completely to the point where he was just useless, and he went right back to the bottom of the lineup, and Shohei did his thing. A lot of the reason I would think that Shohei Ohtani was MVP is because he was also pitching every 5th day. I mean, if he didn't pitch at all, and all he brought up was these offensive numbers, Vladimir Guerrero probably wins this award to me, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
But the fact that he threw 23 games, a 3.18 ERA, a 9-2 record, 156 strikeouts over 130 and a third. Yeah,
incredibly impressive. Yeah. That's why, like, I'm sure like Angels fans that are listening to the show want to punch me in the face when I said that I think he might just be a number 3 starter, because like a 3.18 ERA, like he's arguably like a 1A with these kinds of numbers, right? But I can't see it getting better than that. I would say like law of averages call me crazy, that he's going to throw to a 4 ERA next year. And I could be dead wrong. And I hope I am, for Angels fans' sakes and for his sake. But like, I could see it.
Yeah. That's why you have Barrios over him. Ohtani or Joe Musgrove?
You asking me?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm assuming that Trout and Rendon come back healthy, I'll take Ohtani.
Mike Haber, Ohtani or Joe Musgrove?
Ohtani.
Gotcha. And obviously, Ohtani as a hitter is going to go, I would imagine, top 5. Maybe he slips to 6 or 7. But yeah, wow. I could see him being top 5 overall as a hitter in 2022. I could see.
Where do you see Trout?
He's probably top 7, top 8, maybe top 10. But he's certainly sliding right now, because we're talking about a guy who hasn't played very much baseball lately. 36 games in 2021, 53 in 2020, 134 and 140 in 18 and 19, 114 in 2017. You can pretty much bank on the fact that he's going to miss like a month in the past 5 years. And this past year was catastrophic.
Yeah.
How long is Trout signed till?
The end of time. 2031. Making $37.1 million for the next forever.
Yeah, I'll be like close to 50 years old.
Yeah. 2031 will be when he becomes a free agent at the age of 39.
Yeah.
Guys, that will bring us to the final piece here, and second week in a row, we're coming here with heavy hearts at the end of the show. Julio Lugo passes away this week of a heart attack at age 45. Julio Lugo spent 12 years in the majors for how many teams was it? 7 different teams: Tampa, Houston, Boston, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Orioles, and the St. Louis Cardinals. Was a part of the 2007 World Series Boston Red Sox winning team, and Our condolences again go out to the family. Mike Haber, do you have a favorite Julio Lugo memory?
Man, I don't know if I have a favorite moment, but it's like eye-opening a little bit. Like, this dude was 45 years old and died of a heart attack. It's terrifying and it's scary. And it just goes to show, like, that anything can happen. And this guy, he was a serviceable baseball player for years and played on many teams. And I'm sure, it didn't just hit the Red Sox fan base, or, I think this was like it hit all of MLB pretty hard.
Yeah. Ben, thoughts on Julio Lugo?
It's just another terrible tragedy in a number of weeks. It's first Pedro Feliciano and now this, and it's just it's starting to, like Mike said, it makes you kind of think about, how fragile life is, and you're not guaranteed whether, even if you're like an athlete, it almost, and in a way, I kind of wish I knew more. A heart attack at 45, it's like you want to know more about their experiences and what led to something like this. Were they smokers? What, so that you yourself could take their experiences for yourself and know how to treat yourself better. Like, what was his workout regimen? Was he working too hard at the gym? Did he, after he retired, was he just not working hard at all? Did he not diet properly? Like, there are all these different possibilities, or it might have been nothing at all, and these things just happen all of a sudden out of the blue. But it's hard to believe, and it's really hard. It's very, very sad. I mean, obviously, a good baseball player and solid for a lot of teams. He was somewhat of a journeyman, but I'm sure a family man, a good clubhouse guy. They all liked him there. You never heard anything bad about Julio Lugo. I'm assuming he was like a great teammate, a great guy to coach, and a great guy. And my condolences go out to the Lugo family. And I hope that whatever it was that they all know about, that we don't, that they're able to learn from it. That's the best that I can say, because it's just so terrible.
It is. It's really eye-opening here. We're watching guys that we watched and enjoyed and remember fondly. In the 2007 season, Julio Lugo was there 147 games, 8 home runs, 33 stolen bases, 73 RBIs. Usually hit at the bottom of the lineup. But the fact of the matter is, like, he was just really serviceable at turning that lineup over, scoring 71 runs and driving.
And a good defensive
73.
player.
Yeah.
Good defensive player as
well. Very good defensively. Just a shame. An absolute shame. 2 guys in a week to go on to the other side. We are thankful to have watched Julio Lugo. Our condolences to his family. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Mike Haber, ending on a sad note yet again, but thanks again for being here with us.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, Joe. Looking forward to, all this off-season hype and excitement as it falls into our laps.
We've got so much more to talk about, and guys, we've got a CBA that's looming over us that might end up costing us some time next season. But Ben Nisman, all that means is you're going to be champion for a little bit longer if we happen to miss games in 2022. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Let's hope that doesn't happen, that we get ourselves a full season. More than likely, my expectation is that we don't see 162 games. And after all this, they decide that it's going to go to 154 games or 148 games or something else. But if that's the case, I'll settle as long as we can watch baseball in 2022. That would be a privilege for all of us. And I'm looking forward to finally getting this bad boy to the shop and putting my name on it, Joe. So maybe the next show, we actually don't see it here this week. But at least for this week, we got to. Thanks so much for having me, Joe.
Yeah. Don't forget, you're putting my name on that thing from 2020, not yours yet. We don't want your name on that thing yet, because then you might have 22 that'll be also yours.
No. That's what this one's for.
Oh, you get the 2021 anyway.
Yeah, I get the 2021 on that plaque. It's just this other one that we can put yours on finally, because win 2 years in a row finally.
This time. It's only a matter of time till I'm back on that trophy. And thank you guys all for watching. If you are new to this YouTube channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Ring that bell to make sure you don't miss a single one of our episodes. Next time, we're going to be doing catcher rankings or third base rankings or something. That'll be out about Sunday. Check us out. For those of you listening to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and share this with some friends and make sure that you follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and coming soon to Facebook. I promise the Facebook will be coming soon enough. Until next time, guys, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.